sufficiently watered, Mr. Lin. And that was, huge red flag because, anytime you try to take an expert, whoops, what the heck happened there? Whoa, that just really jumped way ahead. All right, well, anytime you're gonna try to tell an expert how to do his or her job, that's basically a huge problem. And that's going to torpedo you out of the gate. So, because what you're trying to actually do is you're trying to find a different kind of thing. So what would you do as a UX person? Well, you can just ask them, what is the problem? So let's go back to that. Hopefully it's going to work now. Oh dear, there it is. Yes. So when we ask them, the way the UX people do, this is definitely not your use case. So what is the use case? What does keep you up at night? If having the crop sufficiently watered does not keep you up at night, actually the way that they test it is very interesting. They have this thing called the kick test, and they go out in the crops and they just kind of kick the heel of their shoe into the ground, and if the heel sinks, then it's sufficiently watered. So they don't really need a fancy AI solution to make sure that it's sufficiently watered. What they do need a fancy AI solution is to deal with this, which is climate change and new government regulations and water scarcity and all of this stuff that's really happening to them that they have no control over. So when we changed the use case to that allowed us to sell. I think I figured out what's wrong. This is the problem. This is it. Yeah, it only works from this angle. There we go. Technology fail. All right. When when we figure out that's the use case. So figure out the right use case, essentially. If you don't, you're going to torpedo it out of the gate. But the good news is the methods you know already and you already use, like the contextual inquiry and customer journeys, they are perfectly good to apply to AI. You don't need anything fancy. You just need to talk to customers and really have the empathy for them and really understand what their pain points are. What's keeping you up at night is an excellent question to ask. And then go off of that. Avoid telling the experts how to do their job. That is definitely not the way to go. The number 2 ways to fail is to fail to be scrappy. And I was actually on the receiving end of that. And when I was working in GE, my whole team got laid off as part of the $2 billion write-off. And 15,000 people got let go and lost their jobs. Why? Not to mention a huge egg on GE's face. Why is that? Well, because the predicts, their huge revolutionary predictive AI software, just was a big pile of not much of anything. So when they actually started building predicts, what they kind of started marketing was this idea of a smart oil field, and we're going to tell you where the oil is. We're going to adjust the pumps automatically to balance the oil extraction, and it's all going to be connected to this huge AI brain, and you can see the data is flying everywhere. It's just this beautiful sunrise, right? It's a sunrise of the new GE. Well, so what they kind of expected is this kind of like ex machina type of thing to really smart AI. Anybody seen ex machina? Well, those who haven't, this is your homework. This is really good, especially the guys. Sorry. All right. So what they wanted was what they expected. What they actually got was this. This is from Ali Brosh's fantastic book, Hyperbole and a Half. It got me for COVID in a sane way. Again, I hugely recommend this book. But it is not about AI, it's about like crazy dogs and other things. But one of the things she describes is the simple dog, and the simple dog becomes aware that there's a problem. He waits 19 seconds, and if the problem persists, it starts making a high-pitched noise, and it continues to make a high-pitched noise until the problem is fixed. So that's literally what they received as a solution. Nothing particularly fancy, so hence the $2 billion write-off. So my recommendation is to just be very, very scrappy. You have to slice the problem very thinly. Use what is called salami approach. And again, sorry about that for the vegetarians, but what you do with the salami is the thinner you slice it, the tastier it is. And that is a pork product, so, not sustainable, so don't worry about it. But maybe 100 years from now, we're going to talk about salami as kind of one of these atavisms that's never going to be seen again. But the point is, the thinner you slice it, the better and tastier your project will be. And the thicker you slice it, the more likely you break your tooth. So you want to have a very scrappy team. You heard of 3 in a box? Anybody heard 3 in a box? Okay, 3 in a box is usually referred to product manager, UX designer, and the dev lead. So I would recommend for AI project, you want to have 4 or 5 in a box. So you want to have the SME and the data scientists included, but their efforts need to be hugely tempered by the fact that you have UX and the business that is present there. And unless you really understand the use case, you're gonna have a lot of problems. And here is a great example for me of a huge data center. This is actually in Amsterdam, right next door to you guys, and it's built on an island, literally. So it's this huge AI investment, and it's built on an island. So what better metaphor for a complete failure down the line, guaranteed. So. All right, so the third way to fail is to fail to articulate your vision. How does that work? Well, let's talk about Rust for a second. So these are pipes. These normally what the pipes look like, and forget this kind of shiny adverts you see. In reality, they look very corroded, and in fact, they kind of look more like this, and even worse on the inside. And pipes represent about 40% of the cost of a typical industrial installation. And because of that, you need to, of course, monitor them and check them for corrosion and how much material is left and so on. So they use this ultrasound method, which actually works really well. They have a highly trained technician with specialized software and tools that sends an ultrasound ping, and then when it bounces back, it has kind of a Doppler effect, and using the Doppler difference, you can calculate how thick the pipe is, how much remaining material is there. Now, and that's the way it's been for years. Now, GE was really trying to build this more lightweight sensor that's cheaper and easier to implement, et cetera. But what they were basing this on, this whole effort, was this very tactical UI. So which basically has, here's the thickness of the pipe, here's the time, right? So everybody was looking at this picture, and they were looking at you got the pipe, you got sensors. So everybody's like set, right? And so everyone kind of assumed that accurate sensors were required for customer to buy the solution. So this went on for about 5 to 7 years. And they invested a lot of money into this. And bottom line, what they found out, not surprising, after 5 years of research, they found out the small, cheap sensors are just not going to be as accurate as complex manual procedure with highly trained technicians. You got all kinds of problems. So, but when we inherited the project, we said, well, what are these sensors actually good for? And they said, well, they're actually really precise. They're just not accurate. So what the heck's the difference in precision and accuracy? Well, accuracy is how close you are to the center. Precision is how close your measurements are. So it turned out the measurements are actually pretty tight, because this thing doesn't move, right? Like, it makes sense. You bolt it onto a pipe, right? So it just keeps sending the signal. So they're very, very precise, but they're just not accurate. So we just come up here. Thank you.